Hello, Daniel King reporting on Game 11 of the World Chess Championships. Today, Gelfand had the white pieces, in fact his last chance to play with the white pieces in the 12-game classical match. Could he make anything of it? Let's take a look. He opened with 1d4, his customary first move, and the players repeated exactly the moves of their game from Game 9 2 games ago. A Nimzo-Indian classical Rubinstein variation, and let's see who was the first to vary. Now, if you recall, in the game two games ago, Anand took on d4 and played b6, the so-called Karpov variation, a very standard mainline variation, but he kind of messed up the opening. But today he varied. Instead of taking on d4, he played bishop d7, which is a slightly unusual move, not unknown. It was quite popular in the 1960s, but yeah, a little bit unusual. And Gelfand thought here for over half an hour before making his reply, so already Anand's opening preparation had paid off. Gelfand played a3. Well, okay, standard Nimzo move. And here Anand could have taken on c3, but he backed off with bishop a5. Okay, that's kind of normal, it's been seen before. And now queen e2, normal move, preparing to bring the rook to d1, bishop c6, now rook d1, and only here Anand took on c3. Well, this is very subtle stuff indeed. You don't have to do this. You could play knight d7 in this position, but maybe he wasn't too comfortable about d5. And well, okay, I still think this is playable for black, but anyway, he took on c3. He could have done this earlier, but it would have allowed a knight into e5, which maybe he wasn't too happy about. But it's very subtle stuff what he's doing here. Okay, but we still have a very standard Nimzo-Indian position. Bishop d3 was played, attempting to advance the pawns through the middle, backed up by the bishop pair. Once again, we have a position where Anand has given up the bishops, two bishops against bishop and knight. It's incredible how often Anand likes to play with the knights against the bishops. And here I think bishop e4 is a pretty standard move, pretty good move. In these kind of Nimzo positions, you exchange off a pair of bishops, and also you block the e-pawn advancing. So that's possible, but instead Anand tried queen a5. Good move. And now e4 is very sharp indeed. This is a kind of principled move. You know, you want to get these pawns rolling. Of course, there is a chance to take the pawn on c3, and well, both players said they looked into this, but Anand must have prepared this. He was still playing his opening moves very, very quickly. So I can understand why Gelfand was reluctant to go into this. The queen doesn't get trapped, and if you want to advance, you have to give away the d5 square, and well, this is a very sharp position. Of course, white will have attacking chances here, but black has very good positions for his pieces. Gelfand decided to steer clear of that, and instead played safe, as we've seen in this match a lot so far. Anand took on d4 and played queen h5. Now you'll notice this is a very, very similar position to the one they had in game 9, except in game 9, well, the pawn was on b6 and the bishop on b7, and black's queen was on c7, less actively placed. In today's game, very actively placed on the king side, and you can see straight away there's potential for black to exchange on f3 and shatter white's kingside pawn structure, and Gelfand has to be aware of that. Afterwards he said he wasn't quite happy with his move bishop f4. Maybe he should have played a4 straight away, but I don't think it makes a huge difference to the position. And here again, I think Gelfand played safe. He opted to exchange queens straight away, sort of, you know, resolving the tension in the position. I think it's obviously more testing if you try and keep pressure on the queen side, for example, like this. But already Gelfand was running short of time, and I think he was wary of a position which was still complicated. And for example, here you could exchange. Now, although white has the two bishops in an ending, this position could turn against white if he's not careful, with a knight coming in to attack this. And look at white's pawns. They're not the most beautiful pawns. I know the bishops are wonderful, but they could turn out to be weak. So Gelfand played safe. He played knight e5, so the queens were exchanged, and we reached this endgame where, well, you can see black is very well developed, very well coordinated. The bishop on c6 well protected by the pawn on b7, and although white has the bishop pair, it's going to be very hard to make anything of those bishops when black is so well coordinated. So the game continued with a4. Actually, Gelfand said afterwards, if he had the pawn on a5 and a pawn on f3, then he might have a chance to make something of this position. But here it's too slow. And Anand played very well, very actively. Knight e4. So there's a threat here to come in c3, hitting these two. And now, well, this is a little bit awkward already for white, actually. How do you prevent that? Can't play over with the rook because this pawn is on prise. What else? You could try rook a3, but watch what happens. Suddenly there are tactics. And now bishop takes a4. And if rook takes bishop, we've got a beautiful fork here. So it's not easy. I mean, there are plenty of ways to stop this, but none are very satisfactory. In the end, Gelfand chose rook d3, which I find a bit ugly. You get away with it, but it's it's pretty clear that white is well, he's not going to get the advantage here. And Anand continued pressing. f6, good move, and bishop e8. He was playing these moves very quickly. Today we saw a very fluent, flowing Anand playing his moves very quickly and confidently. And Gelfand was already running a little bit short of time. So now there's pressure on the c4 pawn. And this is tricky. So, well, I mean, there are lots of possibilities. You might try f3 to drive the knight away, but then the knight comes back, and that's more pressure. What else have we got? You could try c5, but maybe the bishop flies out to g6. That's dangerous. Once the pawns are committed, then it's not so dangerous for black. So Gelfand looked to simplify the position. Rook b3. Anand took on d4. And now if rook b7, there's knight c3. That's a little bit awkward for white, to put it mildly. So Gelfand played bishop e3. The rook came back. And in this position, Anand offered a draw, which Gelfand accepted. Why? Well, after bishop takes a7, Anand said after the game that he was just going to play rook d2 and put the bishop on c6, and black is so solid here. And I think because the pawns have been broken up, that gives the minor pieces squares, gives them security. And here, well, let's see, f3, you can drive black's pieces back. Maybe the knight comes back to f7. But black is so solid here, so well coordinated. I don't think white is ever going to make anything of these bishops. So a draw is a fair result from this position, but it would have been nice to see them go on a little bit longer. It's a pity they're not playing the Sophia rules in this World Championship match. So, draw. Good result from Anand because his preparation was excellent, and he neutralised the Gelfand's advantage of the white pieces quite quickly. So we go into the final game of this 12-game match, all square. Anand will have the white pieces. Will he go for broke in this final game, or will he play safe? Well, judging by what we've seen in the match so far, I leave you to make up your own mind what's going to happen.